Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alicia here at Cosmic Gateway. This is going to be the June 2026 energy update and intuitive insight guidance. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here. I am recording this one a little bit earlier, even though you'll probably be watching it around the 1st of June. As I post this, I will be on the road. So, this will be the last video in this location for a little bit. So I guess that's probably where to start off. Because of that, obviously I'm recording this one a little bit early, but the energies I've been tuning into for June and also July have been coming through, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Um, I have no doubt that throughout my travels while I'm on the road, there will be so much processing and information coming through that I do intend to share in real time in little snippet, bite-sized updates, probably from the car, most likely, or maybe out in nature spots. So that I'm really looking forward to. I feel like I haven't had a proper break in a really long time. So I will be taking a little bit of time off and then coming back into it with new inspiration, new motivation, and all incredible things. That's why this update may be a little bit more condensed and shorter because I feel like it's only a portion of the puzzle that's still formulating a bigger picture. But I will share some of the observations and things that I have been sort of moving through myself and observing through others through my work that might be helpful for you to perhaps make sense of what's transpiring in your own life to some degree. Now, I probably said this last month, like April, I'm so glad that door shut and May to some extent. Although I feel like there has been a breakthrough through the second half of May, not entirely out of the trenches or out of the core of the nucleus as I shared in the May updates, but it's definitely um, making a lot more sense rather than, when you're so consumed by transmutation and release work, um, sometimes it's really hard to see the rhyme and reason and the bigger picture and the bigger perspective. You kind of right in it. I feel like there has been simultaneous sort of release points of like aha moments, like really great. Yeah, okay, we're on track. We're on point. This is where we're the trajectory. So it really has been about going right into the center point of the coding of we're in a big period time period, sorry, that is essentially we're all playing such incredible, crucial parts of being able to flip the inverted reality, the distorted layer of reality that we all have held and experienced life within the 3D sort of inverted matrix. That process is in refinement and it's happening within each and every one of us. So there's a huge amount of ironing out, flushing out, as you can hear in my voice, um, physically releasing. Um, I do believe I've noticed there's been a huge amount of people who've also been going through this sort of sinus throat thing that I have for, the past, I don't know, week and a half. Uh, and I know when it sort of hit me, I was like, oh, I'm processing out physically now. And the way that I have always seen this process of transmutation, it starts in the mental, in the etheric layers. So the mental body, the emotional body, and then it hits the etheric, and then it hits the physical. And it's like that's a process of when we're dealing with big things. Sometimes we do get our body can become unwell or sick as a part of trying to release the old code through us and physically release it out, which is not fun while you're going through it, obviously, and but it's a forced rest or slow down at the very least. And coming out of it, obviously you feel completely different again. So I'm starting to feel the taste of that, even though it may not sound like it. Hopefully by the next video I'll be less nasally. So whew, where do I begin? The internal coding and patterning that has been taking place and still ongoing. But essentially, if you imagine a code, like an internal code that looks like a sphere, and it's got geometry patterns, and it's like this pure life force energy that represents your soul in its most organic, pristine condition. Imagine that that's being clouded by a layer of distortion, almost like looks like a veil over it, or like a darkened mesh that kind of wraps it up so that everything is through a darkened lens. Everything has a taint to it that is an illusion essentially, that it's not. Um, and so that's what I believe that part of this reality is like, but trying to break it down on the individual scale. So that layer that I'm talking about, that very fine-tuned layer that kind of dulls the eternal essence, is combined with soul memory and experiences that are hurtful, painful, betrayal, sadness, wounding. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and often they're the templates that we've carried over other lifetimes, essentially, that we've come in to completely reconcile and neutralize in this lifetime so we can come back to that original essence. So we're doing that individually, but as we do that individually, it's happening on a planetary level as well. And I feel like we're starting to see the shifts and changes of the flip, what I keep calling the flip reversal. So imagine we're living in an inverted reality where it's upside down, and it's slowly tipping and flipping to right side up. So that's one analogy, going from that to that. But what's happening is it's recoding us from within, so that we're essentially updating and recalibrating our internal light body system. Our soul energetic codes, our blueprint is becoming more accessible. Thus, our abilities, our heightened sensitivity. One thing I've noticed this week is like, I mean, it's not a new thing, but it's like kind of fine tuned and maybe become more, I've been more aware of it, is just in the last 3 days, as I'm having a conversation, whether it be, in a session or with, someone face to face, literally there's a 2 minute lag as I literally pick up what they're about to say 2 minutes. And so I get this like wave of like a theme that's happening in their life or something that I become aware of. And then literally within 2 minutes, they speak it verbatim. So there's it's almost like it's a translation is what I see or feel. It's like the non-physical and the physical, like it's showing the lag times, like, the layer between the physical and the non-physical realities, basically invisible to some degrees. So um you may start to notice more. I was about to say telekinesis. Oh, I meant telepathy, but I think we're becoming more refined and highly attuned to these types of abilities. So, just in the last couple of days, I've had many sort of profound insights, but one in particular was saying to me, part of this hitting the road for me, I haven't done it in a number of years. This is something that has been ongoing for about 10 years. All of a sudden, I get a call that I'm asked to do some work with the land, essentially working with seeding grid points and nodal points and different portal systems and structures. And that's when I feel that there's a big earth shift and recalibration, that we're jumping a significant timeline of reality. And back in 2023, I think was the last time I did this trip by land. I was told at that time the same message around the same time. It's like crazy. going to how, to flip the inverted right side up. Now, I went through quite a profound shift after that, and that led into me tapping into a whole new earth reality experience for an extended period of time. That was the precursor, you could say, or that was the beginning point, and then it, kind of elevated through. This time I got the message, now it's time to complete what you started. And that is, I believe, what we are on the precipice of now over the coming few months. And I'll go into sort of a slightly projected sort of interpretation of where this is heading is, yeah, essentially completing that for the next phase to begin. Oh, literally, they say that the next phase collectively to move into that bandwidth. I believe that I keep getting told that we are in a deep, accelerated preparatory phase that will be taking place over the next 3 months. Kind of moving through the 6/6 through to solstice, midpoint of July into Lionsgate, and just a bit out is a very important phase, probably the most important phase we've moved through thus far. I know that it has a lot to do with the writing and restoration of right relationship template. That has been a huge theme over the last 6 to 7 weeks of diving deep and clearing huge amount of distorted relationship templates. It's been happening through challenges within relationships. I don't really know anyone who's not going through challenges in relationships, whether that be intimate partners, family dynamics. There's a real testing happening to really essentially guide us so that we can clear. We can look at codependency, and look at different patterns that aren't a part of the new reality so that we can essentially neutralize them, eliminate them, both personally and collectively. But that is like, if we're talking about in the nucleus of the nucleus, if we're talking about the formation of an entire structure of reality going from inverted to right side up, what would be the glue that holds it together in the center would be relationships. They are such a crucial part of this shift in human consciousness that we're going through because of the seeded code exchange that two can have when they come into conscious union, that allows an amplification of frequency. So that is why I believe that there's been such a war, for lack of a better word, on relationships. There's been such a there's another word that's not quite ready to come through. It's kind of just escaped my mind. But yeah, there has been a massive targeting on powerful relationships. And where I was told that in the next 3 months, that is where we're going to see the most significant transformation of relationship templates coming in within each of us individually. So it's about the individual being able to go get deep, and being able to clear out the templates that they've come in with. So when I talk about the templates that they've come in with, what I mean by that is we've all come in with, come in that overlay, yeah? Betrayal, abandonment. Each one of those represents a template. Now, these templates are, what do I come through life experience and come through many lives of experience. And there has been a war on relationships since the dawn of time, to separate, to fragment, to disrupt, to triangulate. There's been so much of that we've lived through. And anyone on a divine counterpart journey would know and understand that it's not an easy thing to land in this lifetime, yet that's what we have come here to achieve and will achieve. There's been a lot of forward momentum, and even though it may not on a surface level seem that way or presented, I can tell you right now from what I've witnessed through the multidimensional work that's happened over the last couple of months, it's astronomically huge beyond anything I have ever witnessed previously. There's great traction. So what I have been asked to do, and I don't even know what this looks like yet, so you'll have to stay posted, but that I used to do a lot in this space. I used to talk about lots of updates of what's happening in relationship template, and for a long time I just didn't feel the call to. I had a lot that was happening that I would share, not publicly. I would share it, within client sessions or with close friends, but I pulled back from that because I could feel that the community was full with a lot of loaded distortion, repetition. And I didn't want to kind of keep, I didn't want to add to that. Not to say that I how do I say this? I didn't want to add things into the field that I believe people weren't ready to understand. There's so much more to relationships and coupling from my own unique vantage point that includes multidimensionality. It includes off-world programs. It includes things like matrix, pods, etc., etc. And the more I've delved deeper into my own research and understanding and cleanup of what I've been called into, that is where I've seen the most shift. It dawned on me probably 3 or 4 years ago that programs such as different SSP factions or government organizations and the way they utilize people's consciousness, whether it's through actual, physicality or just through their consciousness. Because I think anyone who has come in with a high frequency is tagged at the point of, conception or birth. We're scanned. There is technology that can identify who we are on a soul level and part of what we're here to do. And therefore, there's a lot that has taken place to prevent that until now. Oh, my body react to that. Once I came into that level of understanding, it was a game changer for me. It was like now I actually have something that I can focus on working with. And this was all revealed to me about 3 or 4 years ago. I've never shared any of this in depth, and now I'm being called back into the space for the next couple of months at least to, I guess, disclose a lot more of what I've seen, witnessed, and understand to help support as many people who feel the resonance with the information that I share. Now, as I say that, it is a very unique perspective and it won't resonate with everyone. But to me, it's the missing link of why these relationships have been so messed with. And it really it adds a much in-depth layer that can then be worked with to bring resolution, to bring harmony, to bring unity, to bring back right relationship. So there's so much more that I could say about this, and I might sort of dovetail to an experience that I had, and part of the other update. I do take notes when I have dream space, so and experiences, and I just realized I did take some notes around this. that happened, let's say just over the second half of May. Now, as you know, I've been doing a lot around the spider energy, and that has transformed significantly in the last couple of months, where there's a lot of turning of those. So there's, from my perspective, all beings, there's sort of just like anything, there's benevolence and there's malevolence. And in the benevolence, it's often ones that have been co-opted, hijacked to switch to switch polarities, let's say that. So they're utilized for their gifts and abilities to use them in an opposite manner. So, for example, the spider that weaves the web of creation, in its inverted operation, it will weave the web of entrapment. So the spider energy, when that comes through people, often it sits in people's stomachs and their guts. And also, their head. I mean, it's not limited to that, but I see it the most commonly sitting in people's like solar plexus or sacral area. And it keeps them just looping, completely looping mentally, mainly, that they can't even get out of their own head to kind of path into a new trajectory. It keeps them off their path, keeps them off their highest path. It keeps a low level hum in their field of negative and intrusive, like very downgraded thoughts. But it keeps them yet completely entrapped in a singular timeline, essentially, that they can't get out of. It's like a self-imposed entrapment because there's energy harvesting that's taking life force from that point and offering it off somewhere else. What I've been shown of up until since I think February, May onwards was like a lot of these spider beings that have been doing this now just don't want to play the game anymore. They don't want to be utilized in that way, and they're starting to turn. And as I see them turn, even like the color of them is showing up differently in the field. And it's like, one of the most profound things is when you're dealing with different beings that have, let's say, a negative agenda, it's like really just getting down to the nitty gritty of like reminding them that they also have divinity within them, that they don't have to be doing or taking or disrupting yourself or others, and making them to look back to see that they have the light within them. And it's like things can transform. So I've been seeing these beings just transform in front of my eyes. And I got a glimpse the other day because I've been watching a lot of these facilities, underground facilities that have been utilized as pod facilities and facilities of experiments, hybridization programs, and nefarious things like that have been taking place with, cosmic intelligences, non-terrestrial, working directly with government organizations. I've been seeing these, and some of these operate in pocket realms too. They're not necessarily, yes, some are on the physical 3D realm, facilities and underground bases, but there's also like parallels and pocket realms where these things can take place. What I've been witnessing is one by one, there's being like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like an ambush, like a light siege, like siege, siege, um, an operation where light beings coming in to dismantle these facilities, to rescue, like do soul retrieval and remove some of the people and the consciousnesses that have been used in operation. It's been quite profound. And one of the funniest things I saw was like a group of these spider beings that have been, because a lot of the time these spider beings are used as like guards in these places to make sure no one comes in and out and things like that. And I saw that they're no longer guarding these facilities. They're actually wrapping up those who've been in charge and weaving them in a spider web of, to kind of so that they can go to their designated place to be dealt with. I didn't sort of investigate beyond that, but I just found it so amusing. Isn't that interesting that, those that once were in control of these beings, they've just had enough and gone, nah, we're swapping sides. um, and they're kind of in entrap, creating an entrapment for those that have entrapped them, essentially. So it's kind of this role reversal taking place. So you probably would remember, I just recently, sometime in the last couple of weeks, I talked about the big presence of snake beings coming up in people's dreams, in people's fields, in people's experiences. And I sort of put a video out questioning, like, has this come up? And once again, there's the benevolence of the snake beings and what they sort of operate and, have operated in and under. My experience over the last little while has been sort of cleaning up some more of these black astral snakes that don't really, I wouldn't say they're very positive beings. They're not transformative, sort of representing awakening or, anything of that. These represent more of the dark representation of black magic, spells, curses, more so of those nature. The first time I came in contact with a large amount of these was around 2018, 19, especially the end of 2019. I remember there was a period of time there, probably September, October, November onwards, probably for about 3 months, that it didn't matter what session I was in, like they were just everywhere. Like these are these black etheric snakes that have like a red belly to them. And they distort people's personalities. They make people become really vocally aggressive. They can make people become really nasty, like forked tongue type energy. Even if it's not spoken, it's just that anger, aggression, rage, but not in a powerful manner of creation, or what's the word I'm looking for? Anger to passion to get things done, to fire off you. This is like a real rage to decimate things, to destroy, to annihilate, and in really brutal ways when these energies and beings sort of come into play. I've seen them a lot. Oh goodness, sorry, I just took a sip of my tea and I forgot I put lemon in there. All right, that was really strong. Um, Now I haven't seen them in full force like that as I did in 2019. As a matter of fact, funny story, I had an experience in 2019 where, after dealing with them through client sessions for months and months and months and clearing out my own, I had an incident one night where I was sitting outside on the phone, and all of a sudden I literally felt something come up and bite me on like the lung area, like on my back, and etherically, not physically. I literally felt something like that. And immediately I felt unwell. And I had to wrap up that phone call and I said, I have to go lie down. I don't feel well. Well, I was bedridden for 2 weeks. I had the worst, still to today, the worst fever I've ever had. And it erupted. And all I saw all night for a few days was download after download of memories of the destruction of Egypt and how these snake beings and, the spider beings as well, a lot of them had played a part in the destruction of that. A lot of them were used for initiation chambers and I think sort of got loose. And I think that's what we're still cleaning up partly today. So there's a lot to it and there's a long history to it. But of course, not to taint it with the same, there are, there's the rainbow serpent. And, in a lot of cultures, snakes represent spiritual awakening or healing. So what I have noticed is there's a transformation taking place around these snake energies, and they're sort of making this shift and transformation. I had a long conversation with a soul sister of mine, not knowing that we'd been working on very similar energy for a number of weeks, and we sort of traded information, if you will. And like I started making all these correlations of the snake energy, and I noticed because snake energy has appeared to me twice now, and both times immediately after it has appeared, I've woken up with like a sore throat, which is really uncommon because often I don't really get sick. So I know there's a direct correlation and there's a direct resolving thing happening. Um, but after I had this conversation with a friend of mine and we were talking about what we had both witnessed, oh my goodness, I went and laid down straight away and went through such a big process that I could feel my body rearrange it. I could feel where the energetic residual of the code of these sort of darker snake energy imprints had been essentially impacted me through times that I'd been unwell, through times that I had been psychically attacked, had come through various imprints and levels and layers of experience that had distorted or had impacted my relationships in a negative way. There's a lot to it, and as I lay there, it was like fragments were being thrown out of my body. It was quite intense and quite incredible to witness it. And once all these layers, predominantly from my right side, had kind of lifted and shifted and cleared, I had all this energy just pour into me. And it was the energy that I see that represents a new reality. It was the most incredible shades of blue, purple, green, teal. That's almost like shiny, kind of almost like translucenty, and not quite aqua aura, but there's another crystal that has like kind of a rainbow, like almost like oil, that kind of shimmer to it, but primarily like purples and blue, shades of blue. Anyway, what the words that I got was the snake spell is over. It's been released. The trauma I've carried, the codes of betrayal, ritual abuse through heartache spell work has finally come to an end. It's removed from my body consciousness, like removing a dozen of snakes from my colon, womb, and brain. This came in during the fall of Atlantis because the template was already set in me from Lyra. It's sitting within my lymphatic system, clearing out. And it was almost like, I know this is really crappy, but it's like almost sort of birthing out residual. After it came out, I was recoded with the purple blue iridescent that looked like aqua aura but darker. This is the second phase. So the first phase that happened to me was a turquoise blue recoding that happened internally during Easter, where I was encoding and anchoring in what I would call my cosmic blueprint. So I filled out with it like a physicality to it, and then I was told that that's going to allow me to receive the third. That is the flip of the relationship template in the field. So after all that came in, let's see, when was that? Yeah, that was just after the second half, around the 17th, 18th of May. And so after that, that's when I was getting all this information about how the next 3 months are going to be really pivotal in the flipping and the relationship coded template. So from that, then I was shown how there are groups of people being prepared and readied to literally have a new reality experience coming in over the next 3 months. And this will happen sporadically and spontaneously. These are people who are literally weaving the new reality, and pathing and opening gateways and portals for people to kind of come through when they're ready. But those who are destined, who've been working on it, this is what we're actually being prepared and laid out for. Now, people like myself, and I know that there are others out there who've already had that experience in full definition, you know, real time, not just through dream space. I feel like those of us who've had that were mm, testing the field perhaps in advance just to see how it would look in physicality and to then fine tune the process. And now what I'm getting is, and then come back to this timeline to then create an opening. But this time, what I'm being shown is there is a much greater group that are ready, that are being prepared, that are stepping up to start to experience this. And I mean, it's unmistakable when you have an experience where you step into a whole new reality. The vibrancy of the colors are different. Your abilities become heightened, and like basically what we would consider operating in superhuman consciousness with your abilities to manifest, your abilities to know, to download the metamorphosis of the physical body, the aches and pains, and extra weight, or lack of flexibility, all completely um, corrects itself. I mean, this sounds very magical, but I've lived this, and I know that other people have. Stepping into that reality, essentially going through an age regression process by biological standards. Um, you get to interface with non-physical, you know, and you get a greater, deeper sense of purpose, and then you kind of get the next path or the download of what your path is opening, that is soul aligned, your divine will that is opening up much wider and vaster in terms of steering the ship collectively. Now, I'm not going to dive into a whole heap about the disclosure that's happening through the government channels. Um, I'm curious to wait. I know I'm actually finding it like jaw-droppingly amazing and quite curious and humorous all at the same time to see on Fox News talking about 4 different ET species. I mean, the reptilians literally made it to Fox News. So, like, you got to see the humor in that, and just like the average person that tunes into mainstream TV, like, even if they don't believe it, seated in their consciousness, right? Which is, a long conversation I had with my dear soul brother. We were talking about that. But my sense is that this is all transpiring because it has to seed in the collective consciousness for what is about to take place. And I don't have any direct hits on how that looks. I don't think anyone does, but everyone can feel it building in the collective, that there is a cosmic component to the up and coming months of disclosure, of revealing, of seeing. And so I just want to say, discernment is key with any um, outside intelligence. Not saying that it's going to be bad or good, I don't know. But it's like when you're interacting with any being outside of yourself, human, non-physical, ETY, like your body is your barometer. Your body will always tell you what you need to know. The mind can be tricked or manipulated, but the body has an intelligence that knows whether it's safe, whether it can be trusted. Like, So really listen to your inner, like get, and if you don't have that strong connection with your inner, like now's the time to really build that relationship with yourself and your inner core to know to be able to navigate what is coming through. I personally think that at a bare minimum, the uptick of personal contact that will take place is going to go through the roof, like individually, people having contact, um, or having memories come back because obviously it's seated now in the consciousness. So people who may have not had memories of perhaps childhood abductions or having conscious contact as a child or throughout their teens, or a lot happens that people don't remember. I remember having a conversation with someone years ago around this, and I was like, it, you know, it's not a minority. I actually believe that so many people have these experiences that are in mind. There's so much technology beyond our normal understanding and comprehension. Um, and not to say that it's all bad. I think even like my positive contact experiences, sometimes I don't retain full memory, or even though I have an awareness that I've been somewhere and, you know, I don't know if I've ever shared this, but like I remember once or twice there's a portal in my bedroom. It's not always there, but it's like when I'm being called to go, my consciousness gets called up on board craft. Doesn't happen as regular as it used to, but at important times those experiences for me ramp up, and they have done, for consciously for over a decade now, and all my life seemingly, good, bad, and otherwise. But this one particular, and I knew it was around June solstice, and I could feel myself being pulled out of my body. It's like one of those days where you feel like constantly like you need to be pulled into dimensional space. So it's like you're falling asleep. It's like I'm being pulled. It literally feels like you're being pulled out of your body. I was driving home trying to stay in my body. I just get home and I'm just like, I've got to lie down. And I remember it was like really early, like 6 p.m. And I was like, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm going somewhere. And I remember lying down, and it was almost like there was a portal that opened right above the top of my head. And it was this really bright gold, like potent, iridescent color, mainly gold, but really vibrant. And I could hear, all this noise and chatter and talking and beings, and I literally heard in my head, because it was almost like a door had opened, like a little, you know, circular trapdoor had opened, and it was like, let's be. And I just heard, oh, she's not asleep yet. And it was like the door shut. And I cacked myself laughing. It was probably one of the more, humorous highlights of my contact experience over the years. But not to minimize that when you do start to have personal experience and contacts, especially in the early or late hours of the evening, because of our negative programming, because of movies and TV shows and things like that, it can be really uh, it can be really alarming. Like even if it is benevolent because it's so foreign, it can be quite scary or unnerving. But discernment's key. Just know that you're protected. Call upon your higher self. Your higher self is always there to lovingly guide and protect and to stand in. And know that you're the commander over your body, your reality, your experience. So if something doesn't feel right, you know, just treat it as you would with any other living experience, essentially. Um, but having said all that, I'm not saying this to induce any fear at all. I actually think that the contact is that is probably going to happen tenfold, will be of benevolence, will be to help support, will be here to guide the next phases. to steer the ship into making sure that things through this shift are happening at the right pace, with equality, with fairness, to introduce new technologies and frequencies that will help this planet turn around and to help us move through this shift. So, yeah, I look forward to it. And also, of course, a large portion of my work is helping those who have had these um, supernatural phenomena, experiences, contact, being in programs, memory things, etc. So it can be very jarring to your life as you've known it when these things take place. But um, there is good support like myself and others out there to help people navigate through that. So the final thing before we get into the intuitive insight guidance um, of a main key observation or awareness that came through to me. And it's come through in a couple of ways, but initially it came through to me as a message. And it was showing me very clearly that there is an accelerated okay, sorry, there's two parts to this. There is an accelerated cleanup of I wouldn't call it karmic residual, but doesn't feel like the right word. But I'll explain what I mean. There is a new consciousness that has landed and will become more and more accessible. So coming back to what I was talking about, those people that are being prepared to be propelled into starting to attune into the new reality, having their experiences, maybe coming back and forth. But I was literally seeing a static field, like layers of reality to a static field, and then beyond that, this pristine clarity. And I was seeing people kind of be um, rising up out of it and in the clear, pristine reality. And that is already taking place. It has been, but in a lot a lot more people actually experiencing it. Therefore, part of that is there are very specific nodal points on this earth where there are already pockets of new coded reality and have been for some time. And they are going to call people to them, whether that be for a trip, for an extended period, or for a full relocation. And through that process, utilizing and working with those frequencies will expand it exponentially into. So as people go to that and then they go back to their place of origin or their home, it will create a link and it will expand the energy. Someone who's from here and they're going over there, and let's say where they're going is lighter than where they normally reside is much denser, they're feeding the grid system, and there's a big activation taking place with all of that right now. Just before I recorded this, playing around with this concept that I wanted to speak about, but also be very careful in how I relay it. But there's this very accelerated process of boomerang effect that's taking place. And I was shown that those people who have been sought after had, things like kind of psychic attack or people having ill will of thought to them or even action, perhaps. There's this kind of natural, this is not anyone I'm not one for a return to sender type energy. If an energy gets sent at me or I feel it coming from someone else, I neutralize it because I don't feel like we should be perpetuating energies. So, but what I was being shown was that those who have had ill thoughts or intentions towards us are now having the experience of whatever it was that they were sort of imposing on another person. It's kind of coming back, like the mirrors being reflected back. Now, I don't say this as revengeful. It literally came in unexpected. Like I wasn't even thinking about anything related, remotely related. It literally showed me as a download that's happening in real time. And a very evolved perspective because how I was shown it was, and I'll give an example just to make it clear. Let's say there's someone like yourself and there's a family member perhaps or a friend or an ex-friend, neighbor, I don't know, ex-partner perhaps, who have had, negative thought patterns, like really kind of negative, like in that would be harmful. That's how, spells or psychic attack work. It's right through the unconscious, through the wounded, that creates an intention that is then cast upon someone else. So it could be, for example, someone's like, oh, that person has really pretty hair. I don't like, I, and really having negative thoughts. Now it would be that they are then having their hair fall out. That's a very basic example because I don't want to go into nitty gritties of it all. Um, so yeah, let's say wishing ill towards someone. Now, often why that happens is because there are entities that are exacerbating. Oh, I get such big chill. There are entities that are exacerbating that person because of a wounding that they carry. So originally they would have a wounding of being jealous or I don't know, low self-esteem. I don't know, whatever. Insert whatever here, right? Um, but then because of that vibration, they're attracting non-physical beings that prey on that amplify that energy, that then play with intrusive thoughts and emotions that then prey on others. So someone who might be shining their light and doing good work, and it's like they become a target, and there's this perpetuation of sort of hateful, negative ripple effect that takes place. What I'm being shown is those entities now are, well, through a conversation I had with a friend, it wasn't just my conclusion. I got the download. She gave me the other part about how it's almost like being put in quarantine. These entities now are imploding on the individual. So whatever they've been projecting outward is now kind of imploding and coming back to them. It's not having the impact that it used to, rippling out into the field or directed at others. And I say this because I think we can all be susceptible at times. This is not just about those unconscious people. We all have points of, weakness or blind spot or wounding. So I think it's also to be very conscientious that while this energy of cleanup is at play, to be very neutral when it comes to our feelings and thoughts and interactions so that we can help the neutralization of all of this in the field and not add to any sort of polarity. But what I was seeing was as it kind of comes back to the individual who perhaps had ill will thoughts towards another, they would be having an experience of whatever it was that they were putting out back to them as their own experience. But that's actually not a bad thing. It's just amplifying the wounding that was originally there as these beings or entities that have been exacerbating get contained it creates an initiation for that individual, an opportunity to heal and resolve that particular thing once and for all. So it's actually a catalyst for change and healing and expansion. And so, I've been sort of toying with this download probably for about a week as it sort of came through. And then, as I said, it took me completely off guard because I wasn't thinking about anything remotely related. Um, and then it started showing it up in my reality, whether it be through sessions, conversations, or in real time. And I was like, oh, this is happening right now. And so I guess just be really mindful of your thoughts, be mindful of your energies. I know there's been entities galore at times as we've been moving through this past couple of months of, big shifts and clearings. You can hear Parky in the background, he agrees. So be gentle on yourself and know, get support if you feel that you need additional support. So the final thing that I was shown just before I recorded this video that is like the tail end of what I just described was this whole thing around the cleanup around dark magic, curses, psychic attack, all these types of energies. We're moving out of a bandwidth where they can reside in, right? We're popping out of the static. So that's why it's being neutralized so quickly. Can't carry that into where we're heading. But what I was being shown as, like, as we talk about the micro, the macro, so if that's happening in personal life, there's a big cleanup taking place. Obviously, that's represented in the collective field. That is taking place. But it's connected to the snake beings and it's connected to magic. And I was kind of shown what felt like in the core center of the earth, or sort of this underground remote place. I saw this kind of emanation of this crystal. And it's like the true essence of what Earth was like when it was quite magical. When we have these new reality experiences, one of the words to describe it is it's just magic. It's magical. So when we think about that, and then we think of the opposite, dark magic, spell, curses. So what I was seeing was there was this like crystal that then had this like it had this black dense overlay that kind of distorted it. And then I see all these beings and entities that are an extended representation of that then go to these people. And what I was seeing is how that's being reversed in a rotational spin, and it's coming into light. So as these beings come back to it, it's almost like they come back to the nest, like bees back to a nest, but it's all these sort of like ghoulish 4D realm, snakes or etheric beings. They're coming back there, they're actually transforming back to light. So there's a ripple effect happening. And as I got that image and I was seeing all that, I literally got then knocked out, and had about an hour knockout on the couch. But I think we're doing a lot in our sleep. And that's the last thing that I want to wrap up is like dream space has been exuberantly hardcore at times, incredibly busy, lots of clearing. Occasionally there's breakthroughs of like the lighter reality. But this need for rest and sleep for two reasons: allowing our bodies to shift and change and to recode themselves, but also the work that we do multidimensionally. Sometimes we literally can't do that in our waking state. So go easy on yourself. It's big stuff, but it's exciting. Like the level of excitement that I have to know where we're at and what's coming through is far beyond anywhere that we've got to at this point before. So we're going to jump in shortly to the intuitive insight guidance. Now, it was probably around about a week before moving into June, these colors started coming in, the mauves, the pinks, the golds. And it's funny, every June, for years now, these seem to be the colors for June. I always see the same combinations. Um, excuse me. And it represents a new harmonic of love, self appreciation. It's very Venusian energies. It has a facet of Lyra. And it represents a new harmonic of love, essentially. Very Venusian energy, as I said, a bit of Lyran energy. Um, it always comes in around the 6th, and it kind of softens out the edges of the extreme that has kind of been, rippling through us personally and collectively for the last couple of months. So I was sitting in meditation, just receiving all that energy and just feeling the calm, the peace, like, oh, I can breathe, like, oh, I feel things that are getting resolved naturally, like things, you know, just optimism and positivity. And as I was just like soaking in all of that, I immediately went from June to July. It was like I jumped into from one month to the next. And immediately I just went from these beautiful colors here to this blue. It was just like, oh, and I was like, oh. Um, so July, is a very vibrant blue color. And so when I was getting to do the artwork, I was being shown the combination of the two to bringing in the blue of the butterfly, the transformation that we're undergoing. And I think that there's a bit of layover between June and July. So, so sort of that's the background to these pieces of art. I hope that you're enjoying. I've had them all sitting up, A, B, and C, for two reasons. I thought, well, good to have them laid out like that so you can look at them all while I might talk away. But secondly, they're still drying. I was trying to get everything done as I'm on a bit of a time restriction at the moment. So anyway, we'll start off. So this will be A here. So if you've chosen that one, it'll be A, and we'll dive right into it. Oh, okay. Straight away, I just hear the words auditorily, new beginnings, new beginnings. There's a fresh start approaching, new beginnings for you, laying down new foundations within yourself, but within home, partnership, interpersonal relating. We've got a lot of wands. We've got 6 and 7 of wands. 6 and 7 of wands. So we have the wisdom of experience and taking a stand. So the wisdom of experience shows a lady with a birthday cake. So if it is your birthday month, happy birthday. Happy solar return. But taking a stand is like walking the tightrope from one cliff to the other, like one. I'll show you them in a second. I'm just going to tune in to the energies of this. Yep. Okay. And we have the strength card. Oh, and we have the lovers at the bottom of the deck. Okay. Tune in to what I'm feeling here. Rejoice, celebration. There's a lot of positivity and upliftment, but yeah, it feels like there is a new beginning, a new chance at perhaps love, a restoration. Self-love feels really important. I feel a lot happening here around my chest. So my heart and my upper chest, the higher heart area. So a renewal of sense of self, a renewal around sense of identity, sense of purpose and passion. And I can see actually a lot of threads interweaving in and around that area. A rejuvenation of life or life force itself coming into form, coming into flow, coming into balance. So it's like, I feel like the frustration, times of frustration are over. There may be some congestion around the throat or restriction that has been there, but it's like there's a fulfilling frequency that's coming through the heart space. So it's coming in from a soul level that's rejuvenating a sense of renewal, direction, purpose, clarity, optimism. It's almost like a golden sun energy that I can see emanating coming through here at the chest. And I feel like this impacts your family to some degree, clearing the slate clean, like cleaning up the unspoken, messy threads that haven't been dealt with, spoken about, have been all these threaded pieces that have been unresolved coming into resolution, which gives you the wisdom of experience. And I feel like the application of your own wisdom of experience to help bring the resolution to come through. But we also have the Seven of Wands of taking a stand. So I always see this as the same person on either side, walking, elevating this walk across the tightrope or the bridge. And obviously, assessing that, is it safe to cross? But it's essentially it's a quantum leap of jumping from one threshold of reality into the next. And I want to say with that, there's like a lot that comes available, accessible to you with it's strengthening within you. So we have the strength card. So courage and open heart. Instantly, I get a lot of Leo energy around that. So it may come to more fruition during the time of Leo, end of July or early August, but there may be some reference there to Leo energies. Big expanded heart energy. And then we have the lovers, the soulmate, the decision cards. But this feels like a bit of a reunification, even oh God, I almost jumped them over. I always wanted to talk about a consummation of a relationship. I actually felt like there was conception energy there. So a reuniting, um, making peace, finding balance. There's definitely a fertility energy around here of sorts. Maybe not for everyone, but I can feel or sense there's some sort of fertility that brings a new beginning into the family or into the home. It could be through concepts or projects, or it could be a child making contact in spirit or being around you, making their presence known, making their path known, entry point. I did see the Venus card there. It didn't come out, but I noticed it. And I also saw the Arcturian, sorry. I won't look at them. I'm going to shove them the other way so I don't see them all. We've got the ET experience. There we go. Interesting. We've got Orion here. Time travel. Interesting. Orion. You've encountered a being from Orion. Perhaps you have some sort of Orion origins. Maybe you're cleaning up some of the more interesting, harsher timelines that you may have been imposed upon you during Orion war times. I know that that's very interlinked in parts of what we're cleaning up now in real time. But it doesn't have to be that. Feel into the connection that you feel that is representative, that somehow is connected to you with the constellation or the planetary body of Orion. Um, you know, or Orion's belt, Egypt, Mintaka. There's a couple others in there. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Um, but there's a lot of aquatic beings. Often when I see beings that are from Orion or around that constellation, I see aquatic beings, I see turtle beings, all sorts of interesting types of beings. But we have time travel. So there is an aspect of time travel involved. So it could be related and connected to this Orion piece, but it could also be about what you're wrapping up and what you're experiencing in your life. Immediately, what comes to mind for me is, if you're going through a reconciliation, a conclusion, a healing of some sorts, like utilizing going into the quantum field, into your own quantum field, to be able to adjust the timelines from the core or the original circumstance to then collapse it back in and to recorrect it in the present moment, here and now. I feel like we're getting really down to the nitty gritty wire of being able to really quantumly hop and jump and alter our own experience of reality. The more fine tuned and refined we are within our body, within our vessel, within our soul consciousness, the more cleaner and clearer we experience reality. So the more we can clean up these things that aren't always just necessarily about the present moment or the present lifetime. We're working quantumly, so we are constantly sort of time traveling back and forward to readjust and fix things. You might find that is the key that's going to help support you. And then we also have the future life contactee. You will make a direct contact in the future life. Now, when I pick up this card, I read it, I kind of take life out of it, future contactee. So you may be, if you aren't already in some sort of conscious contact with higher intelligence, interdimensional beings, ET beings, there may be sort of contact. I mean, I just mentioned that in the update, didn't I? There may be some sort of, it could be through a meditation experience. It might not be it feels light, feels benevolent. It feels, I would almost say, probably more like an aspect of your own consciousness coming through to connect with you. So maybe the future version of self or a cosmic version of yourself from the future coming in and opening up that gateway. We've got King Tide and clear waters, plenty, prosperity, and receiving the fullness of life. We've got clear waters, clear vision, confirmation, right timing and opportunity, ripple effect, part of something bigger, details are taken care of, and sacred well, replenishment, self-care, giving from a place of plenty. So it feels very nourishing energies. So we've got that one being a part of something. There's a bigger ripple effect of whatever you're involved in or whatever you're experiencing as a part of the whole, in the wider sort of family dynamic or relation. It's creating a ripple impact effect into the collective field. But it feels powerful and purposeful because it's like you're in this nourished place, so that as it ripples from you, it's not taking from you, it's extension of excess that you have and hold that just naturally gets dispelled. And I feel like as you're doing that, there's a opening up the channels of God, stumbling over my words. Reciprocity, like receptivity. Sorry, I think receptivity is probably the better word. But things coming in, it's like as you're giving out through the fullness of you, it's like more, you open up to more coming in, because I feel like you're stepping out of scarcity. You're no longer in a place of scarcity. You're in a place of fulfillment energetically, that then provides more of these opportunities, the right timing, things really lining up and coming online and in, in it's not, yeah, the right time, the opportunities coming in through this. It's interesting when I look at all the spread and the cards here. I put the lovers to one side, so it feels like there's maybe two components. It feels like this, yeah, the tying up of loose ends feels maybe part of a family thing, but it ultimately impacts positively in your other connections and relationships. There's like, it's all very interconnected. So many different threads, but I think I'm going to leave that one there for now. I hope that that has given you some little ahas and some clues or pieces of your own puzzle. I'm certainly wishing you a fabulous June. And if you feel that you want to connect with me, you certainly can. I would love to connect with you in and support you in whatever way feels good. If not, I will catch you in the next video. All right. Let's jump ahead to beautiful B, shall we? So if you've chosen this one here, this is artwork B. And let's jump into the space. Parky here, staring me down. And your boy. He's staring me down, telling me he wants his dinner, but wait a little bit. We're halfway there. We're getting there. All right. All right. What have we got, B? What's important to know? Delve into the sacred mysteries of life. Life is calling you into the depths of the sacred mysteries to explore what has not been explored before, to do things that may have never been done, to explore a pathway in life that has been calling you for some time, but you've never quite got there to. I feel like I'm looking at a path in a garden where it's like, it's a very sacred garden. There's lots of like overgrowth, and it's like exploring and investigating. Yeah, being taken off what would be considered your foundation or your regular routine or your day-to-day experience, to explore something out of the realms of your normal. It's going to give you the thing that you've been missing. So whatever you feel that you have lacked within yourself, we've got the Eight of Cups here. So that's emotional contemplation. We've got Justice card. Whatever you have felt that you've been lacking for some time, might be confidence, it might be a voice to speak up, it might be artistic skills, it might be, I don't know, could be many things, but it's something that you, sorry, I'm just something that you're well aware of that you have been lacking within you. But I don't feel it has been your entire life. It just feels like a period of time where maybe you felt switched off or disconnected to an aspect or an element of you that's quite important to your personality, who you are and what you're here to bring. Yeah. So we've got the Hanged Man, suspense, waiting. So it feels like, yeah, with that energy, you've been in a period of pause, maybe void, limbo, unsure, uncertainty, in a like in a minus, in a negative, but haven't been able to grasp that thing, but being able to more, I would say more so in recent time, being able to pinpoint that's what I'm missing. It's the spark, it's the confidence, it's the awareness, it's the whatever it is that's fundamental to you. I feel like that's being gifted, or yeah, given back to you, reignited back within you. It's more becoming more accessible to you through this. So it's taking that time of contemplation, emotional re-regulation, being able to, come back into a phase of reharmonization, regulating your emotions, taking time for yourself. It just allows it to naturally cultivate and to balance the scales. So we've got the justice. Oh, we touched the button there. So we've got the justice, so honorable choices. But I see that really about balancing the scales. So whatever has been, and it might be what I was talking about a little bit in the energy update, if there's something that has been out of balance in a dynamic, in a relationship, in your life in general, it's the scales coming back into neutrality. So whatever's been sort of taken away, and it's being given back, and there's this ebb and flow of equilibrium coming back to back to satisfactory. Coming back to your baseline level to allow a preparation to then jump to a greater elevation when the time is right. But it's like, let's say, sometimes we go through these periods where it's like someone switched the light off within us. We feel disconnected or dulled down. And this can go for prolonged periods of time. And generally speaking, when these waves happen, we're processing quite deep, heavy patterns that are coming to the surface. But also sometimes it can literally be that there is a greater portion of our consciousness not operating in this realm, and that we're off on other missions. When that happens, some of the signs that you can tell that is taking place and happening is because your dream space will be very vibrant, or you'll have an awareness that you're not quite here. So it might be that, not necessarily, but I think maybe for a portion of you watching, it could be a very important part of it. But yeah, it's there's this, we've got the four of cups too, nervous about change. And then we've got recharge your hopes. We've got the four of wands, double four there. So change is coming, change is upon. So it's like you might be nervous about it, unsure about it, still in this sort of contemplation energy, emotional restabilization, regulation. But then there's a path that's being shown of opportunity moving forward that is a restoration of hope and clarity and strength. So we had the strength card too, courage, open heart. Interesting, that came out in the last read as well. So there's strength coming through. Oh, goodness. Oh, we got Venus at the bottom of the deck. Yay. I was waiting for this card to come out. I love the Venus energy. Venus just brings a spark of love into anything it touches. So you've encountered a being from Venus. Perhaps part of your soul consciousness is Venusian, which would, Venusians or people that have the Venusian energy often, they can have like Taurus in their sign. or Libra in their sign. They can have professions that are very creative, very grounded, very stable, but just kind of ooze this sort of radiance, and just have a knack for beauty, seeing the beauty in everything, or being able to create beauty wherever they go. So that might be part of what's coming back to you that you've lost. That might be part of that. So we also have UFO classroom and share your experience. Um, take part of learning on board craft. I know so many people that have these type of experiences, learning dreams on board craft. Doesn't necessarily have to be involved in the UFO per se. It could just be you going through an intense phase of learning dreams or remembering things from your dream space that have a correlation in cross reference or correlation into this life that is giving you greater access to knowledge and wisdom and learning. And then we've got share your experience. So your perspective is valuable. So it might be taking on board things that you're learning, perhaps from the ethers, from the realms, through meditation, through dream space, and applying it to sharing it or teaching it. Might not be straight away, but something to contemplate and consider. Whew. Just gonna put the card to the side. I shouldn't do that. Okay, it's not my favorites. We've got the Zeta Reticuli card. So you may have had encountered a being from Zeta Reticuli, which are the stereotypical grey beings. They look like that. They're sort of often the ones that have done a lot of testing, hybrid programs, etc., etc. It may be that there's memory coming back. Maybe part of you being switched off has, let's bring it into the conversation, shall we? Maybe that's been part of you being switched off that's coming back online at this time for you, and perhaps even remembering some critical parts that I don't see it as a nasty or a negative thing. I think it's a part of the whole human experience of really remembering who you are. But we have another card here that's Earth Teacher. So there's real like classroom sharing your experience teaching. You are an you teach ETs about being human. So whether that be verbatim exactly what it means, or it may be that we have a lot of ETs walking amongst us. There's a lot of star seeds here that really struggle to be human. So it may be that your role is to help those highly evolved beings integrate into their bodies better, and into the human experience. That card can have many different expressions. I'm gonna just jump along into the final, the Healing Water Oracle cards here. Rebecca Campbell is the author of these ones. Kind of a newer edition. Maybe I've had about a year, but oh God, we've got the ripple effect. So part of something bigger, the details are taken care of. I feel like you coming back online, the pathway being open, shown, you sort of walking off the beaten track, so to speak, and reclaiming integral parts of self is opening up for a bigger part of your life experience and mission coming into more focus for you. So that's, and then we have clear waters. Oh my goodness, we're literally almost a lot of repetition in the cards. So we've got clear vision, confirmation, right timing, opportunity. So yeah, new opportunities coming through this month in June feels really, really like a big part of that. Things that pathways are getting opened and cleared, the opportunities that weren't necessarily available definitely becoming more accessible. So we have the plenty, prosperity, receiving fullness of life card coming through here, which is absolutely stunningly. So there's two others. We've got the birth mysteries. What are you being called to create? And follow the stream, dedication, trust, future rivers and oceans. So there's definitely some big sort of expansion and creation energy of what you're being called to, perhaps in the capacity of teaching, sharing experiences, perhaps, writing, undergoing study, whatever it is. I feel like there's a big expansion that is definitely on the cards, or even as I say this, already in progress for you. And I think that's only going to become much more apparent and transformational, transformational. My God, my apologies for stumbling over my words. Right. Well, I'm going to wrap that up. I hope that helps. I hope that gives you some clarity or insights or some confirmations of where you're at and where you're heading. And if you want to connect with me, all the details are in the description box. But if not, I will catch you next time. All right. Lucky last C. This one here. So just taking in, if you've chosen this particular piece of artwork, we're going to dive right in. Oh, look, we got the Fool at the bottom. Spontaneity, taking chances, starting off on a new journey, opening up a new trajectory, things moving forward, delays are over, plans can be sprung or placed into action. Yeah, charging forward. I see like almost like a race, even though it's not a race, but like the barricade's been pushed down so the people can take off and start charging, moving forward at a like great speed of velocity. Like I see the Chariot card. It hasn't fallen out, but I literally see it like flashed in front of my face. So there's a fast quickening or pace to getting to where you're being called to for this month. New restored clarity, purpose, direction coming through for you, for sure. A lot of resurgence of past life memory, even if it's indirectly. I feel like there's past life influence or influences coming through. Things coming up for resolution on a relationship level, because we've got the decadence card, the indulgence, the Seven of Cups. So that's all, the self-indulgence sort of, I see that as more of a convoluted relationship type energy. But we had that card, and then we've got the recharge your hope. So it might be that in the past there's been these sort of near miss, not quite hitting the mark sort of relationships. So there's been a period of like recalibration, but there's the Four of Wands, which is recharging your hopes, giving you a greater perspective, a greater outlook, and a pathway forward, which then goes into, we've got the Two of Swords and the Nine of Cups. So balance restored and resolution in masculine, feminine, or in relation to relationships. Yeah, restoring any sort of conflict resolution being sort of restored, and then entering into the Nine of Cups energy, which is a restoration of relationship, feeling fulfilled within yourself, feeling uplifted. And this is probably the new pathway and trajectory that's opening up for you. Oh, and then we've got the Eight of Coins, talents and skills. So juggling multiple projects, multiple components, multiple aspects, having multiple streams of income or new opportunities being presented, and just feeling very capable, being able to really kind of deliver at a high level of the work that you do. And maybe even trying and delving into like new type of projects and things that are kind of creative that maybe you've thought about but never really taken the the leap of faith, the fall to step into. That's all coming about as we step into June. Oh, that's a lot. Like all just kind of came in, Oof, which is good. Well, we've got two of coins, so I see that as new streams or multiple streams, being able to juggle, yeah, additional streams or having more access to streams of cash flow coming in. So yeah, taking the opportunities. All right, let's see what these cards have. Can you hear the birds in the background? The kookaburras. Um, I don't know if you can hear them. They're like a laugh that their call sounds like a laugh. Dusk and dawn is when you hear them. So it's starting to get dark outside now. You hear them first thing in the morning and just before nightfall. But they're part of the kingfisher family. They're a very beautiful bird. I don't know why. This when my parents first moved into their property, it was a vacant lot just before I was born. So they've been there as long as, I've been alive. Um, and it was yeah, it was a lot of bushland, like it was very forest. There was no sort of development. And so they had to sort of clear the space where they built the house and then they put, the driveway in. And as we were kids, my dad found a headless snake on the driveway, and it was a kookaburra who had come down and taken the head off the snake and left her headless. So, they are a bird that, yeah, I mean they eat, small mice and things like that. I'm sure there's a technical term for it that I can't think of right now. But interesting. I haven't thought about that in a long time. But anyway, my dad kept that. That my mum and I put the snake in a jar to preserve it and kept it as a warning to us children to be careful when we walked, because there was bushland that we would travel through every day to go to school, and we'd have to walk down this track, and they kept it as like a reminder that we'd always had to be careful in summer because there's snakes around. There's not these days. Probably back then there was a lot more, but obviously living in Australia, we do have some of the most poisonous snakes and spiders in the planet. So anyway, I digress. So know, maybe that story has some resonance. Maybe there's some sort of childhood expression coming up. I don't know. Maybe it's just a random story. But yes, look up the kookaburra birds if you're not familiar with them. They are beautiful. I think they represent joyness, lightness, laughter, and fertility, if I'm remembering correctly. Whew, all right, so we have the telepathy card and we have the soul. Interesting. I'm looking at that. I'm like, does that read soul contractee? I'm like, contactee? No, it's contractee. You have agreed to this path. So interesting. Look at the pyramid and the planet behind it. Is that, yeah, it looks like a pyramid. Um, with some sort of a peak on the top. And I don't know if that's a sun or a moon or a combination of both. It's very interesting imagery. Um, and then we have the telepathy card. So you are capable of mental communication. When I look at the combination of these two cards, and we'll see if there's others that want to come through, immediately it says that, part of this month's theme for you would be perhaps almost like a review of your life path, a review of coming into more awareness of your soul contract and having some form of communication with maybe your higher self or another being to give you an insight or clarity about, what sort of, yeah, I was waiting for that, what's coming forth and what's coming forward for you. We have the contactee card. That's what I thought that previous card was. I had to re-look at the word. So we have the contactee. So someone who has conscious contact with, you know, uh, interdimensional extraterrestrial beings, higher dimensional beings. And then we also have consider regression. So your subconscious memory remembers more. So I feel like there's some stuff to unpack here this month of perhaps dormant memories, things that want to come to the surface, a review or recognition or understanding of contracts, purpose, to gain greater clarity to move forward. Maybe not necessarily, doesn't feel to me necessarily like unpacking like hidden or unresolved trauma. It feels like more an expression to have clarity and a deeper level of understanding and awareness of, what's coming through the pipeline, what's coming forward for you. And then we have share your experience. So there will come a time where you'll have the opportunity to speak or share your experience with others, whether that be family members or on a greater public forum. So it's like maybe you do need additional support to help ready and prepare yourself for that next level or that next role. All right, so the final cards we've got here, we've got the water codes and the healing lagoon. So we've got ancient wisdom, the intelligence is within you, and then we have rejuvenate, recovery, time to heal. It's time, it's safe to stop. So kind of a rest and rejuvenation. So I get that. I'm going to show them. Sorry, I know that's not focusing in that well. More of a reflection and downtime more than deep healing, I feel. Just like a downtime and a pause while there's so much going on to reflect and just to like almost take notes and just kind of make a plan that's going to help formulate moving forward with this bigger, wider perspective of the soul contract, your purpose, what you're being moved and asked to step into. We have the waterfall, inner power, unbridled confidence, claiming your place. Stepping into the new journey, the new trajectory. I feel like something really quite significant comes full circle for you this month. And it feels like it doesn't catch you off guard in a bad sense. I think it's just unexpected. Something comes in full circle for you. Some sort of form of resolution that requires sorry, it requires like multiple parties or at least one other party coming to play. So it could be something that hasn't been resolved for a while, a dispute, a disruption, argument, but it's like someone's coming to the party now. So something unexpectedly gets resolved this month that you've kind of waited for, tried to do everything that you can, and then, exhaust all levels, and then sort of almost walked away of like, oh, well, I've done everything I can. Not forgotten about it, but not actively doing anything, and something gets resolved. So, and that feels quite fundamental for you to be able to move forward. So I'll leave that there with you. I hope that this is, if you've come with me full circle to the end, thank you so much for being here. I'm wishing you an incredible June. Um, and may, abundance and love and just optimism, carry back into the center of your heart and take you forward. So if you'd like to connect with me, all the details will be in the description box below. If not, I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.